Okay, now the verification of the digital certificate. Okay, so how do you obtain the public key of a CA? We already said, right? What was that again?
Web browser.
Yeah, it's built into your web browser. And whenever you obtain a certificate, you always have to check the valid period because it could expire, right? So that's what that was about, right? Now, let me see. There are ways to check whether the certificate is still valid or not, right? Either manually or automatically. So when you do the manual check, right, what you have to do is you have to download this list called a certificate revocation list. So the certificate authority publishes this list periodically and say, right, these certificates are now expired and these are still good and things like that. So you need to get that list just to see whether your certificate is still valid, okay? And the certificate itself will also say this is good until this time, right? Now, if the certificate somehow got, how would I say, modified by bad guys, right, or bad guy, then you cannot trust that, right? So that's why you have to download it from the certificate authority to make sure what it says on the certificate is actually correct, right? And you can also do it automatically, right? And in that case, when you use an automated method, you have to use this certain protocol called Online Certificate Status Protocol. So in this case, people are not checking the valid period, but the computers go out and then download the revocation list automatically, and then what? If there is an expired certificate, it will report that to you, right? So you can do it automatically, you can do it manually, either way. You can either do it manually or automatically. Okay. Do you have a question? Okay. Very good. Who didn't get a candy yet? Corey. Okay. I'll give you one. What? Do you deserve a candy?
I think so, yeah.
No. Which one do you want? Okay. Okay, catch it, okay? Let me see. Oh! Whoa! Oh, did it disappear? Oh, okay. Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so that woke you up a little bit. That's good. Let's keep going. Okay, so the next one is the roles of digital certificate and digital signature, right? So let's think about this. So in public key authentication, okay, you have these two things, right? Digital certificates and digital signatures. And I said the signatures themselves, right, alone, they're not enough, they're not sufficient because, right, nobody can tell whether that, right, whoever did the encryption for the signatures using the private key, right, whoever is sharing the public key, part of that encryption, you don't really know whether that public key actually belongs to, right, that person or organization. So we need something that can prove the relationship, which is the certificate, right? That was the idea. So they should be used together because signatures alone isn't enough, isn't sufficient, right? Why? Let me see if you can repeat what I just said. So let me pick on Chris again. Chris. Yeah. So why is it not enough? Why do they have to be used together?
To verify one another.
But be more specific. So why is it not enough, right, just to use the signatures? What else? Why do you need also a certificate? in addition to the signatures.
Well, anybody can sign their own thing,
Mhm.
and the digital certificate validates that's actually like them signing it.
Right, exactly. Yes, good. Okay, so the next one is digital certificate and digital signature in authentication. Okay, so how can we use that for authentication? Because now we have certificate authority in place, right? If we can decrypt a signature using the public key of whoever signed the document, we can authenticate whoever signed the document. Does that make any sense? What I just said? So if you're able to, right, decrypt the public key that is supposed to belong to the signer of the document, we can authenticate the person, because now we have the certificate authority saying that, right? The only person who could sign this document is that person, because that's the only person who owns the public key and the private key, right? Does that make sense? So authentication doesn't work until you actually have the certificate authority in the picture. It only works when you have the third party that can prove the relationship between the public key and what?
Organization.
Right. So that's why you still need the, of course, certificate, right? And then also the certificate authority that issues the certificate. You still need these two additional pieces to make this work, to make the authentication actually work. Yes.
One thing with like the private key, isn't it still possible that like somebody could like steal your private key without you knowing about it?
Right. So that possibility is always there. But that is really your responsibility as an organization to keep your private key secure. Otherwise, right, there's no point, right? So there is always that possibility. If you lose your private key, anybody can, of course, sign it, yes. And certificate authority cannot really do anything about it because, right, the only thing they say is whoever is using this private key, signing the document, we know that organization is this. But we're not really guaranteeing the fact that whether that private key, right, could have been stolen or not. All you're saying is it originally belonged to this organization or person, right? Yeah. So you need all these pieces. You need the signature, you need the certificate authority, you also need the certificate itself. You need all these to make it work, especially for authentication. Okay? All the pieces. So we took care of the authentication part, message by message authentication. We talked about this in our previous class, right? Message by message authentication. How does that work? The way it works is for each message I'm sending, right? I'm going to sign it, right? Using my private key. And I generate the signature, right? And the signature contains the hashed value of what? The encrypted version of the hashed value of the document I'm signing, right? So both of the problems can be solved: authentication and then integrity checks, right? So, but when using the asymmetric key encryption to do this, right? In theory, it works, no problems. You can do this all the time, but in reality, it's just too expensive. I mean, for every message you have to do the encryption, that could be just too expensive to do, okay? And the expense in this case could be really the CPU time or the disk space, that type of thing, right? So in terms of the CPU, in terms of the memory, right? So if we can somehow streamline this, that will be the best. how do we streamline the whole process, right? So that's really the next thing.